Okay. Hi, YouTube. Here I am, NYDiva92, or D, whatever you want to go by. I want to go by, whatever you want to call me. Anyways, I'm here to talk about this whole Oscars controversy between Aunt Viv and Jada Pinkett and Will Smith. I haven't really heard my opinion in the media yet, or maybe I've heard like multiple facets of my opinion and no one's really kind of brought it together, and a lot of people may or may not disagree. I don't know if I doubt anybody's gonna watch this. I'm kind of hoping, but it's whatever. The original statement that brought about a controversy is that Jada Pinkett took to Twitter to say that she thought that Black people should kind of come together and take our resources and stop giving so much when we are not getting certain nominations, we're not likely to get Oscars, and it's just like a highly unlikely situation. And even though we provide different avenues of talent and, you know, things of that nature, Hubert, which is the lady that played as Aunt Viv on the original Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, to her Facebook apparently to respond to Jada Pinkett Smith, and she said a lot of stuff. And it's crazy because I kind of feel like her message got lost in all the negativity of her video, and it sucks because now she's looked at as just another bitter, angry Black woman. And I hate to say that because I really dislike stereotypes. But unfortunately, with the beginning of her video being so negative, it just kind of angered people, and a lot of people missed the point. So, for example, she started off her video by calling Jada Pinkett Miss Thang. Now look here, Miss Thang, was how she began her point, which, you know, I actually heard about it on the radio listening to the Ricky Smiley show, and they didn't even acknowledge any of the points that she made. All they acknowledged was the disrespect. So it just was really sad. Anyways, I'm here to kind of highlight some of the points that she did make that I agreed with. I disagreed with the delivery of the video or of the message, and I'm not like the best deliverer. I don't want to call myself an awesome deliverer, but without all the anger and the like bitterness of whatever happened in the past between her and Will, some of the points that she made was just that there are just much larger issues than the Oscars, and that being something to boycott. You know, she brought up the fact that there are young Black men who are dying due to police brutality on a regular basis, and if Black people were to come together and, you know, boycott or fight for anything, it should be for young Black lives of today. You know, it should be for things like Black Lives Matter, as opposed to, you know, winning an award at an Oscars, which is a valid point. You know, she brought up the fact that there are starving children. So I do think that she made a very valid point. And she also said that maybe, and she referenced Will Smith, which I don't think that Jada Pinkett Smith was only making her commentary on Twitter based off of the fact that Will didn't get nominated. I think that she was doing it as a general synopsis for Black people not being nominated. I don't think that it was just for Will. And that's kind of what Janet Hubert was kind of going for in her speech, is that, you know, Will doesn't seem to have a voice of his own, and why are you speaking for him, and maybe he just didn't deserve it, and blah, 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 which maybe he just didn't deserve it is another valid point. But I don't think that Jada was only talking about Will. I think that she was talking for the general community of Black people. But going more so towards her stating that maybe Will just didn't deserve the nomination. I feel like Black people always kind of like if we don't get what we want sometimes, we kind of just jump to like, oh, it's because I'm Black. But maybe if we take the Black part out of the equation and do exactly what we ask white people to do or people of other races to do, which is see us as equivalents, which is see us as people first and not just our skin color. Let's say we look in the mirror that way. Let's say we take away our skin color and just view ourselves as people first for a second. Do for ourselves what we ask other races to do to treat us, how we ask other races to treat us. And when you do that, the option or the thought that perhaps Will Smith did not get nominated because of his acting abilities not being up to par according to Oscar standards, I guess. Or Oscar, yeah, maybe, or nomination standards, for the Oscars. Maybe he just wasn't as good as he thought he was. Maybe it has nothing to do with your skin complexion. Maybe it was just your acting abilities. Not that they were bad. I'm not saying that Will Smith is a subpar actor, and nor am I trying to throw shade. I think he's an awesome actor. I have not seen the movie in question yet, so I really don't have an opinion or a leg to stand on as far as my thought process on how good his acting actually was in that particular movie. But just for argument's sake, that could be it. I think that's often like not a thought, like that maybe it has nothing to do with our skin color at all. But that's just, my thought process. And I could be wrong. It could have everything to do with the skin color. I'm just simply suggesting for argument's sake that maybe it doesn't, so that we don't have to have this debate. But maybe it is a debate that needs to be had. I don't know. Really think about it in retrospect, Leonardo DiCaprio has been nominated but never won an Oscar in his entire acting career, to my knowledge. I mean, there's tons of memes about it on Facebook and on the internet. So with that mindset, like if Leonardo DiCaprio was Black, like stuff would really hit the fan, okay? But, because he's not, like, he's just a person who hasn't won an Oscar, which is what Black people should be aiming to be. Just a person who didn't win an Oscar. Not a Black person who didn't win an Oscar because they're Black. And then, so post original Aunt Viv's video response came a video response that I saw with Jada Pinkett actually stating her opinion on the matter. And her response was so graceful and so just classy. I mean, aside from her yelling at the reporter to spit it out, I mean, I was like, dang, Jada, no time to waste. What video? Like, spit it out. She was very, very, very rushed. The reporter was. But either way, besides that fact, her response to the actual question was very graceful and just had so much etiquette about it. She just wants peace, and she said, I'm just asking, she said, I really feel like as Black people, we really need to learn how to come together, and we find things like this or take steps of action, and we find a reason to argue about it. And it's like, if we can't come together, like, it's really hard for us to make a difference, which, I agree with. Black people coming together and having a voice and actually taking action, and, basically the boat that Jada Pinkett is driving up is segregation. It sounds like it. She's asking Black people to take their resources and to come together, and we can have our own award system that's equally as good as the Oscars, and provide our people with the acknowledgement that they deserve. We've done that before. Segregation, separate but equal. You want to separate a Black Oscars to have equal hold in the community. It's not going to. We've done that in the past, which was segregation. It didn't really work out too well because we were separated, but things weren't really equal. Black people tend to get the lesser of the two equals. Just going based off of history, what I've heard, what I've seen, what I've read, that's what I'm going based off of. Never really was equal. Separate, yes. So we overcame that, and even in this integrated society, we still have things like BET. And to be honest, in modern day society, BET is actually owned by a white man. So not really as black owned as we thought it was, or black empowered as we thought it was. It's kind of just like feeding black people what white society wants them to be fed, unfortunately. What it's turned into anyways. It definitely, BET started on a much more positive note, I think. But anyways, we've done that before. And a BET award does not hold at all the same weight that an Oscar does. And even though we can say we want to do separate but equal, it's not really gonna work that way. I don't see it being successful, and that's really hard to say. But in an integrated society like the one that we live in now, it's really hard for us to, again, segregate ourselves and try to find success in that. It's going to be hard. And, we already have a hard time as black people coming together for a common goal. So that's a tough one. I agree with what she's asking as far as us coming together. I don't necessarily agree with the goal that she has in mind. Janet Hubert's first video about perhaps there are bigger issues in the world other than Oscar nominations, and the fact that perhaps Will Smith and other black people and movies that did not get nominated, perhaps they didn't get nominated for reasons other than the fact that they're black. I also agree with Jada Pinkett that black people do need to learn how to come together for a common goal. It's very rare that we find a goal and just kind of come together and stick together and gather our resources and actually take action. It's hard to come by in our society for some reason. Though race is such a serious topic, like black people always find a reason to like bump heads. And then to my final thought, Stacey Dash made a comment on Fox News, I think it was, about how segregation is not the answer, which a lot of people may dislike me for this, but I agree with Stacey Dash. I totally agree with her. Her delivery, similar to our original Aunt Viv and Janet Hubert, or Janet Hubert, they're the same person. Delivery, just kind of off a bit. But the message was very accurate in my opinion. Separate but equal, as I stated before, was not necessarily, didn't have a high success rate in the past. And we do have to choose one. We either want to be treated as equals and integrate, or we want segregation. And she's right. If white people started an all-white Oscars and only gave out awards to white people, yes, black people would be up in arms. I totally agree. And she suggested that we get rid of things like BET, which I don't know that that was a valid argument because, like I mentioned before, BET is owned by a white person and their employers are very diverse. So not necessarily a valid argument because they do not only hire black people, and black people are not the only people that you see on BET. It's definitely not an all-black thing. Like, BET has become it's very integrated in my opinion. In fact, it's very rare that I see somebody that actually looks like me on BET. Just saying. But anyways, moving on. She wants to get rid of things like BET and Black History Month. Now, this was the big problem. This was the one that really made a lot of people mad. Getting rid of Black History Month, I agree with that. I do think that we should get rid of Black History Month because Black History Month should be celebrated all 12 months just like White History Month and every other race's history months. I think that we should celebrate Black History Month along with the other races of history 12 months a year. If we can agree to put Black history in textbooks and put Black history in the schools for 12 months a year, then we can totally get rid of Black History Month. I totally agree with that. Let's not keep treating ourselves as minorities. If we are fighting for equality, if we want equality, let's actually be treated like equals. All right, so the 11 months that we teach white history, let's incorporate black history into that and just tack another month on for both white and black history. Let's just like, we want to make an equal playing field, right? We want integration. We want fairness. Let's do that. And let's just take a moment and think about black history and what's actually included in the textbooks and in schools. About Malcolm X in high school. I just learned about him from like other people talking about him because he was often compared to Martin Luther King Jr. But all I really learned about was slavery, Abraham Lincoln, freeing the slaves, segregation, Martin Luther King Jr., ending segregation, and now we're supposed to all be equal. The end. That was my black history lesson for the many, many years that I was in school. I was going to quote it. I didn't learn about Black Wall Street until post-college. Says a lot about our textbooks and how they teach black history. Black Wall Street should be like the first thing that they teach black kids about. Really. Really. My spiel. That's what I have to say. Janet Hubert had a very valid point. And so did Jada Pinkett Smith. As did Stacey Dash. There are bits and pieces of everything that they said that I agree with. Bits and pieces that I don't. But yeah, the solution, I don't really have it. I don't know what to do as Donald Trump stays out of the Oval Office. I think we'll be okay. Just keep him away from the White House. Thanks for watching.